hope you guys can see me. I do not know why it says test on the bottom. This is the first time I am going live in StreamYard, so it is literally a test for me too, but this is actually a real one. Just bear with me, guys. I'm just checking. It is working. Okay, we are working by the looks of things. Right. Again, don't know why it says test. I will fix that for the next time. But I am Ness Jones, and today we are talking about victim blaming. So if you are watching, please let me know. I just want to let you guys know that because I am on StreamYard, I cannot see your names. I can see when you comment, but I can't see your names. So that might be a little bit of an issue, but we will get there. So yes, definitely can't see any comments, but please let me know if you are watching, so I don't have to talk to myself. It looks like I am live. We're working. So as I said, I am Ness Jones. I'm from Separation Anxiety in Dogs Decoded. Who's watching there? Please let me know who you are so that I can say hello. Let me know if you're watching with your dog as well. I have a dog right here by my side who's a little bit stressed for some reason. I'm not sure what's wrong with him, but he'll be all right. Anyway, so we're talking about victim blaming today. Now, I have a little document here I wanted to go through. So I did ask a few days earlier what things you guys have been told in terms of victim blaming, and there's a similar theme. So the reason that your dog has separation anxiety is because it's your fault that you spoilt him, that you never gave him a chance to learn to be by himself, that you taught him that if he has a temper tantrum, you'll come back, that you baby him. Does any of this sound familiar to you guys? That it's all in your head and the dog is fine, and it was all your fault, it was all you, that you petted him too much and comforted him too much, that you're not the alpha, or that she thinks she's the alpha, that you coddled him, that you didn't crate train him. So there you go. There is a lot of things. Oh, we've got some people here. Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Lockie is getting dinner. It just says Facebook user. So I'm just going to jump into, Oh, Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. How are you? Yeah, I can't see who's commenting. I have to jump back into Facebook to see. So there's some of the silly things that people are told. I do want to mention quickly that if you seek out the podcast episode that myself and Stacey Bell from Focus Fund did, which is the podcast is called Tails, Tails, from the Doghouse Separation Anxiety Explained. We did talk about this kind of victim blaming last week, so that'll also help you get to grips. But I'm here to tell you it's not necessarily your fault that your dog has separation anxiety. There's a number of reasons why, and I wanted to cover some of those today. So let's start with genetics. Some dogs are predisposed to anxiety, and there is nothing you can do about it, in the sense that they come pre-packaged, if you like. They've already got these things in them that you can do as much training as you like, and you can help them, and often with these kind of dogs some sort of medication will help too. You can help them, but they've got it inside them. It's like us, some of us are predisposed to, I don't know, depression or anxiety or all sorts of even physical things. We come pre-packaged with these things in us, and a lot of dogs have this, and unfortunately there are some breeders out there that don't care what they're putting out. So they have a male dog and a female dog, and they breed them, and they have all these puppies, and they sell the puppies, and they don't care if these puppies are coming out of the mother's womb, for want of a better way of putting it. They don't mind if the puppies have genetic issues, because it's all about making money. And a good breeder will care about this. If they find out that the two lines that they've put together are throwing puppies that are not comfortable in the world, then they shouldn't be repeating that breeding. But unfortunately, there are some that aren't. So in terms of genetics, I think it's really, really important that you do your research, find a good breeder. Has anybody come back to their breeder and said, hey, guess what? This puppy's got anxiety. I'd be really interested to know how your breeder responds. So some of them I have heard in the past will say, oh, well, tough luck. Some of them will say, oh, well, it must just be your puppy or your fault because the rest of them are fine. But don't forget, if you look at brothers and sisters or a family of 4 kids, say, each of those kids are different, the same mum and dad, but each of those kids pop out differently. So they've all got different behaviors that influence them. And it is the same with puppies. So in fairness to some breeders, if one puppy in a litter was genetically not as confident as the other ones, that might not necessarily be the breeder's fault, in the sense that they might, it might just be a throwback from the past or whatever. Just the melting pot of DNA and genetics didn't work out for that puppy. But if that pairing of the sire and the dam was consistently throwing genetically flawed puppies, then I would be looking at that breeder saying, how do you find that sort of stuff out? A bit tricky. I'm just going to jump back into Facebook and check what you're saying. Patty, hi Patty, how are you? Are you watching with your little Skippy? Patty says, yes, told me the sire had it and will grow out of it. Yeah, well, if the sire had it, you've got to wonder, don't you? Louis says, good point. Louis, I hope that's how I pronounce your name. Plus the breeder is accountable not only for selecting genetics, but also for making the perinatal experience. And that's my next point. Louis, you're right on top of this. Patty says, not a real recognition of genetic component. They think it's environmental. Yay, hi Skippy. Yes, so the next point that I wanted to bring up is the maternal care of the puppies by the mum. So is the breeder giving the mother a good, calm experience? Is the breeder giving the mother, all her nutritional needs? Is she in a calm environment, a safe environment? Is she stressed or is she calm? Things can impact the mum, can also impact the pups. Is she, what is the breeder doing in terms of mum to make sure that the pups are okay? So that's one point. But also, what is the breeder doing outside of mum? So mum, let's say mum is in a calm, good environment that's safe and she feels secure. All those sort of things are so important. But outside of the mum, what is the breeder doing to help those puppies develop in the correct way? So knowing what the breeder is doing, how they're bringing them up, is really, really important. So if the breeder's not doing things with them, like, helping them learn about the world in a safe environmental manner at that age while they're still with their mum, then if they're not telling you what they're doing, I would be a little bit sort of concerned maybe. I would want to know what that breeder is doing to give the puppies good experiences. So that's another really important point. Not a real recognition of a genetic component. Oh, yeah. I read that one already. Genetics and the whole motherhood experience, what happens with mum and what happens what happens to mum environmentally, and all those sort of, is she stressed or not, and also what is the breeder doing with the puppies when they're still at home with them. There is a study, I think it's Bradshaw, so moving on from mum when pups go to the new home, it's really important for the owners to also make sure that the puppy is getting some good, sound socialization. Now, socialization is not about taking your puppy down to the dog park and letting it off with a whole bunch of dogs. I find the word socialization a little bit confusing for dog guardians, because that's what people generally think. It's like, oh, well, I just want my dog to be friendly with other dogs. But socialization isn't really about that. It's about developing confidence. And that is really important. So taking pup out to all sorts of different experiences and exposing them in a really, really safe way so puppy is never scared. So that might be, for example, going and hanging out outside a shopping center. It could be putting them in a trolley and going to the pet store with the puppy in a trolley, or to a hardware store, if your hardware store, wherever you are, will allow you to do that. It could be going to a playground and hanging out by a playground so the puppy sees children, or a football match, or anything that helps build the puppy's confidence is really, really important. And that might... what we want to do is expose puppy to these things that might be scary to puppy, but do it in a really safe way. And this study shows that puppies between the age of 5 and 9 months, if they get these really good positive experiences, are less prone to anxiety and also separation anxiety. So that's really, really important. I would suggest that actually widening that window. So that study specifically looked at dogs or pups from 5 to 9 months, but I would suggest that, that experience, that confident experience, should probably start a lot younger than that. So theoretically with mum, pre and postnatal, developing pups, as soon as they come home, positive experiences are really important. And if we can give them those positive experiences, then they're less likely to get separation anxiety. It comes down to confidence, I think. That's like a really big thing. How confident is the dog? And one other thing that can influence, so we've talked about genetics, motherhood, pre and postnatal, the socialization period. One thing that has impacted a lot of pups is COVID. So beginning of 2020, we had COVID lockdown start mainly around the world. And what happened? Everybody rushed out because they weren't at home, rushed out and cleared out the shelters, cleared out the breeders, couldn't get a puppy for love nor money, couldn't get a dog from the shelters. And then, unfortunately, they didn't leave them alone. And it wasn't their fault. They couldn't leave them alone. But what that's meant is there's a lot of dogs 2+ years and under, so just over 2 years, or 2.5 years and under, that have never learned to be by themselves. Does that mean that dog has separation anxiety? Not necessarily. What it could mean is that that dog is just never really learned, never experienced being by themselves because they've never had the opportunity. That is still not your fault, right? If you were made to stay in lockdown, okay, maybe there were some things you could have done to help that puppy learn to be by himself, but that doesn't necessarily, like, it's still not a fault. You don't know what you don't know. And I can tell you there's a lot of adult dogs that were fine pre-COVID, and then they got to spend 2 years with mum and dad, and then mum and dad went back to work, and these dogs were fine, and now they're not fine. So they don't have separation anxiety in the true sense of full-on panic meltdowns. It's not a genetic component. It is literally that they got to enjoy mum and dad for 2 years, and then suddenly, boop, mum and dad's gone, and they're like, whoa, what happened? So that's no one's fault. That is what it is. But we have to be mindful of these things and put measures in place to try and mitigate them. So that is really, really important. But again, this victim blaming doesn't help the situation. I don't think there is any need for it. And I really do believe that we can look past that. If a dog has separation anxiety, what help is it to point fingers at people and blame them for it? You didn't spoil your dog. You loved your dog. You took it to the park. You gave it affection. That, to me, is, hi, Kath, is normal care. Like, why do we have a dog? Do we have a dog to chuck it outside, tie it to a freaking fence, or, a pole in the backyard? I know some people do. I think that's tragic. But really, we have a dog because we want to take it to the park. We want to love it. We want them to love us. We want to go for walks. We want to pet them. That's not spoiling a dog. That's just meeting its needs and, making it feel part of the family, which they are. But I wanted to let me know, guys, if you've got any questions, please. And let me know if you're watching with your pups. I know Skippy's watching. But yeah, I did get an email this morning from Louis, and Louis is in Madrid, and really, it's 2 a.m. there, by the way. If you're still watching, Louis, kudos to you. Louis is a registered psychologist and also a dog trainer. And they've brought up a really interesting topic, which I really want to cover because it does kind of come under the sphere of victim blaming, or, it touches on it. So Louis says, I've got one question related to this blaming the guardians for their dog separation anxiety theme that I've brought up. My doubt is whether we can totally rule out any influences from the owners on their dog's separation anxiety. Leaving aside these stereotypes you mentioned critically, I'm thinking along the lines of internal working models, which are IWMs, and they are a construct originally posited by Bowlby in his book Attachment and Loss, and that in human psychology explains many of the dynamics of transgenerational transmission. That's a bit of a mouthful, transgenerational transmission. So if the transmission of an insecure attachment style, avoidant, resistant, or disorganized, is explained on the basis of IWMs, the internal working models, how come we can totally exclude a similar influence with regard to our dogs when we are weaning and adopting them as early as 6 to 9 weeks? I'm not saying that this is a single contributing factor, but not the main component. Yeah, I got you. Nevertheless, I do feel that the interaction between guardian psychological traits and the dog's behavior is perhaps one of the most neglected topics out there, not only in separation anxiety, which is a good point. So my understanding, Louis, of Bowlby's evolutional theory of attachment, and this was literally via a quick Google search, suggests that children come into the world biologically pre-programmed to form attachments with others. Because this will help them to survive. A child has an innate, inborn need to attach to one main figure, a close emotional bond with a caregiver. And yes, I would agree with you that puppies are certainly, hi Julie, too interesting to miss. I totally agree with you. And children are born, it is a survival technique, isn't it? And so are puppies. And that's why we see puppies that follow their guardians around the place. And I don't have a problem with that. Independence training is something that comes with time. You would not leave a puppy by themselves the same as you wouldn't leave a baby by themselves. So the way I look at it is 8-week-old puppy comes into our home. I don't want to leave them by themselves. They're a baby. Would you leave a baby by themselves? No. So I'm not one of these people that I think all dogs should be crate trained. I know they're illegal in some countries like Sweden, for example, except for medical issues. I do believe puppies should be crate trained because there will be times puppy has to go to the vets. Maybe there's been a horrible accident like my dog had. She fractured her femur. It was absolutely awful. She had to spend time at the vets, like a lot of time, 5 days. And I knew she was going to be comfortable at the vets, well, up to as much as she could be, because she knew how to be in a crate. I also transport them in my car in a crate. But I'm not one of these people to feel that puppies need to be in crates necessarily. So, but they do need to learn to be by themselves. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I don't force independence on a puppy. I don't gate up areas. So puppy has to stay over there. I think that can build frustration in a puppy, and that can tip over to separation anxiety. So I don't do it like that. If I'm bringing a puppy into my home, it has full access to me, because I wouldn't do that to a baby either. I would make sure that it's, it feels safe and secure. And that's what it's all about, is making puppy feel safe and secure. Then you can start doing some training and building up gradually in a safe way, not forcing it. I feel like the more you force puppy to be by themselves and be independent, and I hope I'm touching on your point, Louis. I hope I'm not going off on a tangent and not making any sense, so let me know. But if you force puppy to be by themselves, and maybe you put up a baby gate, or you lock them in a crate without any kind of training, or you chuck them outside and they can see you and they get wound up and they get need to be with mum, understandably, because they do have attachment, because it makes them feel safe. We are their safety net. Forcing that can cause anxiety. Hang on, we'll just see what that says. Patty says, and crating in recovery for disc issues. Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, dogs do have accidents. They do need to spend time in crates and at times. So I do think it's a valuable tool, crating, but I don't use it as a management tool. A tool for, teaching my dog to be by itself. I use it in a different way. But yeah, so does that make sense? So I'm bringing a puppy into my home. I'm not going to force it to be independent. I am going to teach it to be independent. So I'm not going to force something and make it freak out and get worried and upset. What else was I going to say? I guess the way I look at a kid, right? So you've got a 3-year-old child in a social situation. So you take your 3-year-old toddler, or 3 years old, they're going to cling to mum in this new environment, all these people milling around. They're like, oh, I don't know, I'm a little bit worried about this. Mum is the safety net, and that is the same for a puppy. Mum is the safety net. When that 3-year-old is a 13-year-old, do they want to hang out with mum in the social situation? It's probably unlikely. So because they've learned confidence, they've learned independence, but they've done that in a safe way with mum, has, brought them up properly and helped them to be confident and independent. So by the time they hit their teens, they're not so clingy. So when I'm bringing up a puppy, I'm not too worried about forcing their independence. It just comes naturally. It just comes naturally. I find that they take themselves off on their own, because you've got your little puppy, and then they hit their teens, but they're confident. They're confident to be by themselves because it hasn't been forced. It's been trained in a safe way. And that whole safe way thing is what the most important thing is. I mean, look at it in a different perspective. If you had a puppy and you think, oh, I want to teach my dog to swim, and you throw it in the water, you probably actually scarred that puppy for life, because it's completely panicked. And it's scared, and it won't ever want to go near water again. And this is the same with home alone time. When you're teaching a puppy, you don't want to throw it in the water and hope it's going to swim. Some dogs, like robust dogs, yeah, for sure, no dramas at all. But those ones that maybe have some genetic issues or a little bit of underlying anxiety, they're not going to cope with that. So we do it in a safe way, and we build confidence instead. Any questions? Oh, I do have... let me know if you've got any questions. But Kathy this is kind of off topic. Kathy, Kathy, I don't know how to say your surname. Ramazzotti. I will quickly run through this, and if anybody's got any questions while I'm going through this, ask them. So she says she has a semi-separation anxiety dog. Conditional, she says. This is a really sad story, but it's also got a happy ending. So Lockie's about a 3-year-old English pointer, rescued from Iran, abandoned in a forest with a chewed rope around her neck, significant scar, possibly a burn on front shoulder. That's really sad. Showed signs of abuse when he was first brought home, fear of sticks, brooms, all that sort of thing. Is fine now and trusts Kathy and her family. Made me cry in those first few weeks to see him cower. I can't imagine. Looks like he's been neutered early. You adopted him when he was about 10 months old in 2019. He is afraid of the world, but is a lovely, happy, sweet dog who responds to training really well. Just in terms of if he is afraid of the world, Kathy, often those dogs might be good candidates for medication. I don't know if he's on medication or not. But if he's afraid of the world, it is a chronic stress issue. And chronic stress equals toxic stress. And living with toxic stress is really bad for us day to day, as we know. So I'm not, that is a conversation for your vet. And I will always say this, I am not a vet, but it certainly might be worth talking to your vet about, just to see whether they feel that he might be a candidate. Because living with toxic stress, you're living in that fight-flight scenario all the time, and it's not nice. But it sounds like he's landed on his feet with you. Besides the separation anxiety and then the resulting barking, our only other struggle is reactivity on the leash. Doggy daycare or friends unleash dogs, he's in heaven. That's often the case, that leash reactivity. They're fine off leash, but on leash they're not. Sort of barrier frustration. Certainly very high energy, When we first adopted him, he had no idea what a toy was. Now he's a Kong expert. I love that. We love him to pieces and want to help him enjoy the world. And hopefully he'll be able to leave him occasionally for longer than 3 hours. Our crate maximum. I have to say, 3 hours is really good. There's a lot of people in this group that would kill for 3 hours. But obviously, you still want to build that time. So, and yes, you want them to feel calm and safe and confident. So there, I have this thing called the 4 C's. It is in our separation anxiety training: calm, confident, consistent with the training, and comfortable. They're my 4 C's. So that's my goal when I'm looking at my clients and looking at the videos that they send me, is looking for that. That's the gold star, if you like. So she's got some scenarios here. If left in his crate, he sleeps and is calm as can be. Loves his crate in our bedroom and will occasionally self-crate for a nap. Beautiful. And he's happy to go in there. Beautiful. If left in the garage with a wonderful cushy dog bed carpeted up off the concrete, blankets 3-sided with a roof, to keep out drafts. Doggy door gives access to the backyard. All terror breaks loose. He's running the perimeter of the yard over and over again, often barking at any sound or perceived something outside the fence. It's so sad to see we have cameras. Consequently, we don't do that anymore. I think that's a good idea. Sometimes just changing those parameters can have a negative influence, or they can have a positive influence, and it sounds like that's a negative one for him. We've tried short experiences. It's awful for him, so we stopped. Yeah. There's no point letting him stress out like that. It's not fair. We can leave him uncrated inside the house for short periods. I wonder what that short period is. If he's got 3 hours in the crate, what's his short period uncrated? If we are outside in the front of the house, we may get a quick bark from him initially, and then he quietens down and waits on his mat. Good boy. So some anxiety near the front door. Yeah, so you can see some underlying anxiety. We are working on that daily when we go to retrieve the mail, put something in the car, talk to a neighbour, do a little yard work with hopes of reinforcing that we come back. He appears to do well with this. However, we don't know anymore if this is appropriate. I think it is. I would, Kathy, have a look at my door desensitization course, my mini door desensitization course. I can't, let me see if I can drop a link in here. Wait there. I'll just have to open something up here. And basically it's kind of similar to what you're saying. So you doing the post office thing, which is, the post box, going to the bin, going out to the yard. Great. But, what I would suggest is, this is just a free course for you. I'll have to post it. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Wait there. Oh, sorry. My thing's gone a bit wonky. Right. Copy. All right. Here we go. Yeah. So that's in the comments now. 3 minutes would be nice at this point. Who said that? Oh, Patty. What was I saying? Yeah, so basically the door desensitization course is, like, it does sound like you can go outside, but leave him loose in the house and then just start doing some door desensitization. So it's a bit more structured than popping out to the post box or putting the bin out or what have you. It's really just to get him to be really, really bored with you going in and out of the door. The goal is to get outside the door for 1 second. And if you can achieve that, then you can do it for 5 seconds, but you want a bit more of a structure than popping out to the post box sort of thing. So have a look at that. It's free, like I said. And yeah, I think that might just help you. It's really important to know what you're looking at, though. So you've identified the fact that he's a bit unsettled by lying by the front door. I think that's a big, you know the difference, don't you? So, but I think that will give you a hand. And Patty, I mean, you did get over 3 minutes. I know that. So hopefully you can get back there again. But anyway, I guess the whole purpose of this chat today was just to say that it's not your fault. It's not helpful people blaming you, your friends, your family. They just don't understand. So they're not trying to make you upset. They're not trying to be nasty. They just don't understand why it's happening. And as I said, there's a number of different things. I've just touched on some of them today, not all of them, I'm sure. But there's a number of different factors that can come into play. So don't beat yourselves up about it. I will be doing lives every week, same time or maybe a bit earlier. I don't know. What would you prefer, an hour earlier or same time as today? Let me know. You can put it in the chat now if you like. And the other thing is, what would you like me to talk about? Have you got any topics that you want me to discuss specifically? So I haven't decided what next week's is going to be, but we'll get there. The other thing I want to mention too, just a heads up, is that I will be doing a masterclass training series in a few weeks. So stay tuned for that. We'll be talking about the 3 biggest mistakes that dog guardians make when they're same time. I bet Louis doesn't want it at the same time, 2 a.m. in the morning. So I'll be discussing the 3 biggest mistakes that people make with dogs with separation anxiety when they're trying to resolve the issue. So that will be a masterclass in a few weeks. I will be updating you and I will let you know when that is. If any of you need some one-on-one help, let me know. Just jump onto nessjones.com. So it's nessjones.com. And I will book a free Zoom chat with me, and I can let you know how I can help you with your dog. So I've got some options. So actually, I'll give you a quick heads up now. So I do one-on-one programs, which is intensive programs where I work with you one-on-one. It's all remote, so you don't have to be in the same country as me. In September, I am going to be starting some group coaching, which will be a little bit less expensive, but it'll be a 6-month commitment from you guys, 6 months. So it's going to be something. Look, we know that having a dog with separation anxiety is not a quick fix. It's not like teaching a sit. It's not teaching like a nice, easy behavior. We're dealing with emotional trauma, if you like. So it's tricky. I know that's tricky. So it takes time. And that's why currently my one-on-one programs are 8 weeks. I'll probably be extending that to 12 weeks, but my group coaching will be 6 months. So it's a big commitment, but again, you can't solve it unless you do something about it. It doesn't solve itself, unfortunately. So, yeah. Okay, but that's it from me. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a lovely evening, afternoon, night, whatever. And I'll see you next week.